When you have a bumper like this, where you can literally touch the engine, your engine bay tends to get a little bit dirty. And well, mine is no exception. That's why today we're going to be tackling washing the engine bay on my 2004 Subaru Forester. And for a lot of people, this is actually relatively simple. All you need to do is go to the car wash, get yourself the hose, make sure you're a good distance away, and give your engine a spray. And that will, for most people, remove the dust. Unfortunately, for this car and well, our adventures that take us through some pretty crazy climates, including mud, snow, and everything in between, we're gonna have to dig a little bit deeper to make sure this engine bay is clean. You see, a lot of people are afraid to just go ahead, take the pressure washer, and spray down the car. And well, for good reason. There's a lot of important components in these engine bays. With that being said, think about it this way. Your car drives through rain and snow all the time. So a little bit of water isn't gonna hurt it. What's gonna hurt it is if you're spraying water or even scrubbing where you have connectors and you really forcefully get water in there where water isn't really supposed to be. But as I said, for most people, when their engine bay is just a little bit dusty, a good spray down at the car wash will do just fine. Just make sure once you spray it down, you go for a little bit of a drive to heat the engine bay up and evaporate all the water. Unfortunately, as I said, this car we're gonna need to do a little bit more work on because of all the dirt and well, stuff on grind for my open fenders from my bumper. So today I'm gonna show you exactly how to tackle a little bit dirtier of an engine bay the proper way. So let's get started. Much like a good paint job, cleaning your engine bay requires good prep. So as I said, there's a lot of electrical components and components you just don't want to get water in, unfortunately. So what we're going to be doing is, well, we're going to be protecting those. And what we're going to use in is press and seal, some painter's tape, and well, plastic bags. It's not a super complex thing. The biggest thing is you just want to go ahead and cover all the components that have wires sticking out or they have a lot of connections that are just sitting there. As I said, the car is meant to be driven in the rain. It's just not meant to be scrubbed up against with a wet brush or hit with a little bit of a pressure washer. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start on one side of the engine bay and work our way across, covering any electrical components that you feel you don't wanna get wet or any connections that have bare wires that might not have the best weather packing, especially if it's an older car. And with everything covered up, we're pretty much ready to go. So I'm gonna walk you through the process, but first I wanna highlight some regions, specifically if you're doing this on a Subaru, which you should be probably looking at covering. So obviously, because I have an aftermarket relay box, that got covered with a plastic bag. If you got any of the Subarus with the coil packs on top, probably cover those. These are never a fun thing to diagnose if anything goes wrong. So I covered up these, and then because the boots are technically waterproof, I just pressed them in to make sure that they were good. And then the next thing I covered is, well, our main fuses, because again, if water gets in that, it's not going to be a fun time. Anyways, now that we have this all done, what we're going to do is we're going to first pre-soak it, get some water on there, then we're going to hit it with our cleaners. So what I recommend is any of your favorite all-purpose cleaners. I actually really like this German-made one here. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but it has, it comes in a concentrated format, and then it gives you a bunch of dilution ratios. So today I will be running it in about 50-50, or more closer to the 1-3. And I'll be using this, and then I'll be spraying everything down once I have it pre-soaked, and hitting it with, well, a bunch of different brushes to go ahead and scrub off all of the dirt. Thankfully, not really any oil, but to scrub off all that dirt, because as I said, the last year of off-roading has definitely done a number to our engine bay. For scrubbing, there isn't as much of a technique as it is just making sure you get every spot that you want nice and clean and going over it probably a couple times with the brushes. But if you do that right, you should have a much cleaner engine bay. And then after that, it's just about, again, hitting it with the pressure washer, making sure you get all that degreaser off because you don't want it to sit, and you're pretty much got a clean engine bay. And then once you're satisfied with how clean it is, all you really got to do is start removing all your saran wrap and cleaning up all the tape that you left behind. One thing to note is where you typically put your tape and your saran wrap it's not going to be as clean as the rest of the engine bay. So what I like to do is then I just hit it with the scrub brush through a little detailer and make sure that I get those clean, but obviously without the pressure washer to ensure that I'm not blasting water where I don't want to. So we just give it a nice little scrub with a brush to make sure it's just as clean as the rest of the engine bay. And with everything wiped off and the tape off, your engine bay is finally clean once again. I know for us, it isn't going to last for a very long time, but it's always good to try to keep up on it. Doing a deep clean like this will make it easier to just spray it off when you have a little bit of dust. With that said, there is one more step before you go ahead and say you've successfully cleaned your engine bay. And well, that one is just taking it for a good 10 to 15 minute drive to get the engine bay temperature up and evaporate all that moisture. The last thing you want to do is have moisture stuck in the engine bay and causing stuff like pins to corrode. So with that said, we'll be going on a drive, but I'll leave it here for today's video. So let me know down below if you're going to clean your engine bay like this, or you prefer just a quick spray off. And while you're down there, don't forget to go ahead and check out Flat 4 Off-Road for all your adventure Subaru needs, as well as the channel memberships. I'll be seeing you guys in the next adventure.